Welcome to the Mindful You podcast, brought to you by the Mindful University Project at the University of Rochester. Our mission is to cultivate presence, compassion, and well-being by integrating mindfulness and contemplative practices into campus life.
We offer practices such as yoga, meditation, retreats, trainings, and other initiatives to support students, faculty, and staff.
Through this podcast, we share mindfulness journeys and insights on how being present can support mental health, focus, and resilience. Thank you for joining us. Let's explore how mindfulness can transform our lives together. Welcome back to the Mindful You podcast. I'm Rishika, your host for today, and I'm here with Dr. Lisa Critchley, the director of the Mindfulness Professor Training Program at URochester. She is a woman of many trades and is involved in a lot of other ventures apart from being part of the Mindfulness Project, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute. But we're all so excited for all of you to meet Lisa today, and thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this since we scheduled it.
Yes. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you get involved with the Mindfulness Project? And yeah.
Well, I got involved in the Mindfulness Project through a mutual friend, Rebecca Block, who is the leader, if you will, and the big thinker behind the Mindful University project at the U of R. And he introduced us and said, I think your work in mindfulness with leadership would resonate with Rebecca. We met and we had an opportunity to share our mutual passion for how mindfulness can be a highly effective tool, not only for how you show up in your life, but also for well-being. And then your state infects everyone else's state. So more mindful individuals at the University of Rochester campus isn't a bad thing. And but prior to that, my career has been in leading human resources. I'm one of those good kind of HR leaders who really likes people and love helping to unlock the potential in human beings. And I found that before I had discovered the mindfulness could be another tool in the HR toolbox, I felt like I was falling short of giving leaders and our employees some sort of skill set that would help them be able to go into difficult situations, handle stress better, but also to be just more effective in their lives and happier. And when I found mindfulness, I thought, oh, this is it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is very cool. So you started off in HR and, in the corporate world a little bit and kind of realized that there's something missing here, like, something I wish I could offer to my employees, to my colleagues, and then stumbled upon mindfulness and got to the Mindfulness Project. Very cool journey.
Yes, and the Mindfulness Project has been so incredibly rewarding to see how Rebecca has been leading the charge and our work together to expand the reach of Mindful You beyond students to bring in faculty and leaders in the classroom and administrators and staff in all of the schools. So all 7 schools, we have graduates or alums from the schools. And it's exciting after we just completed our 6th cohort on Wednesday. We had our graduation and there are so many mindfulness ambassadors now telling us the transformational journey that they have been on by attending this course and how we are guiding them to implement it in the classroom. And the more ambassadors we have, the quicker the work will go and the bigger the impact. So very exciting.
Yeah, I can tell that you're really passionate about it. And I remember even for the listeners, Lisa and I met at a retreat a couple of weeks ago. And just hearing about you talking about the program that you offer at the university, I could tell how engaged you were in it and how much it meant to you. And I think that's so cool. Like, it's so lucky to have that kind of pursuit.
Well, I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate to be able to teach and learn at the same time as people share their personal stories about what they needed and how this is helping them. And then also, it's not uncommon for a student to say, have you thought about using it this way? Have you thought about this breath work? What about doing this? And they teach me along the way. And I'm I really consider myself an avid learner, and I don't want to stop learning. So getting in the classroom in front of adult students is very rewarding, but also I keep learning. I'm a student too.
Yeah, I think that's the best part, to continue learning alongside your students. It's amazing. So, where did your mindfulness journey start? Where did it all begin?
Well, it's kind of funny. I wanted to expand my coaching skill set because, often people think coaching is giving advice, and that was my mindset until I realized by getting involved in locally with coaching. And then I had an opportunity to go to Asheville, North Carolina, to a presence-based coaching course. And we were in the kind of the woods in Asheville, beautiful setting. And I had no idea that instead of coaching the person and the problem, right, we could coach a mindset that starts with how are you feeling in your body to become more aware. And when we have this awareness of our body, so as an example, if I were to ask you, Rishika, let's pay attention to our neck right now. And if I had you zone into your neck and you move it around, you might find it's a little tight. Or there's a little like, ooh, that kind of hurts, or it's not as flexible. And well, that can inform how you might show up today. If you have a tiny little tension or pain or, soreness in your neck, you might not be the most patient, but we don't know it's even there. So we can't stretch it or do something that would be self-care. And so in this coaching journey, I realized I kind of felt like I was asleep in my own life. And then I was like, there's a different way to show up. And as a personal aside, in my family, all the women have, I think, genetically predisposed to anxiety. And anxiety can really undermine your success and your happiness and your health. And once I was there, I thought, my experience is 10% what happens to me and 90% of how I think about it. And I could turn the channel, change the channel, reset by using my breath. And then I was like, if I were to turn my phone, you would see I have literally hundreds of books on mindfulness, coaching, leadership. And so that was the beginning. And that was in 2010. And then more recently, I went back to school at St. John Fisher University and got my doctorate in executive leadership. And I did a research study on leaders in manufacturing at a particular company to see if their mindfulness program made a difference on the leadership effectiveness and well-being. And the research did show there were changes for people who learned and continued to practice. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how, just you happened upon this sort of coaching retreat sort of thing and training, and you're like, oh my God, all the dots are connecting.
It came out of a book. I read a book that was assigned during my coaching course. And in the book, there was an author. So I looked up the author, and then I found on their website, they had this coaching program. And I thought, let's go. And this particular provider of it, an author, his name is Doug Silsby. And he wrote The Presence-Based Coach and The Mindful Leader. And so he spoke from a deep wealth of experience and research. And so that really was, I guess, compelling and hard to ignore.
Yeah. And I mean, completely resonates as well with where you were coming from and the impact you wanted to make. I think that's what I find really cool about mindfulness as well, is that it's just it's a way of life. It's a concept, and you can anywhere and everywhere.
And it's great that people may think it's a fad because it's in the mainstream. We hear about it a lot. But I will tell you, the best compliment I get, there's two of them. And I get them from people who haven't seen me in a while. And they'll say, Lisa, you are so calm. They go, I just love being in your presence because I'm calmer. And then another compliment is, I feel safe with you. Like this calm presence draws people in. They feel like they can go like, I don't have to be on high alert. And it's just the energy that exudes from being able to be self-aware and manage your emotions, like not get because it's easy to get really tight and wound up. The only one that I still, if I'm very happy, as you can see here, I'm trying to like hold it in. I can be very energetic on the happy side, but I don't usually try to restrain that too much unless somebody hasn't had their coffee.
Of course. Yeah. And I think it's so interesting how that works where, it's kind of paradoxical, like connecting to yourself and regulating yourself somehow helps you connect with others better. And it has nothing to do with the other person. It's all about
the third piece of it, when we are mindful and we cultivate this calm and we're not so much in our head, we increase, it's almost like a new set of eyes turn on for us. We're able to see things more clearly than we saw before. But since we're not so insular and thinking about ourselves, we can become more aware of our field of vision, literally and figuratively, of what impact am I having on this person? And when they show up, what's going on for them? Can I get out of my head and say, hi, Rishika, how are you doing today? And let's talk. And instead of a monologue, right? And the other, yeah, great to see you, but I didn't get to talk at all.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's completely different mindset or perspective. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the Mindful Professor training program at URochester. What is it about? What can faculty or instructors expect?
Well, say some of the technical things. We meet 9 times for an hour at a time. And usually it's every week, but often in the academic calendar, there's a break or something that interferes with having it, 9 weeks straight. We come together live in a group, and I create a safe space for being vulnerable and sharing and practicing. It's using 2 different models that have been researched and have, a wealth of empirical evidence behind them. So it's a research-based approach to learning, but it's highly experiential. We do 3 mindfulness practices each class. We do journaling, which is an aspect of mindfulness to kind of take what's in here and put it on the paper. And then I go over aspects of the models, and then how do we apply them? And the practices are all micro practices, so things that can be done in a very short period of time, so that they can be incremented into your life, into your day, while you're doing things like. And then there's an opportunity. One of the sessions is focused on how do we create a contemplative or mindfulness-based classroom experience, because research is really clear that when we check our state, like put my own mask on first before assisting others, and we show up present and calm to teach, our energy is more inviting. We engender trust more quickly, which are things that we might not have thought about. But then the students can be calm. And particularly if a mindfulness practice is done right before a high stakes test, or if they have to stand up and present, things that we know can make students very nervous, it helps them focus and kind of get those nerves to the side where they can be managed properly. And they do better. Right? They know that you care about them. So there's the mutual well-being. And then part of this is academic flourishing for the professor as well as for the student. And so what people have said is that it has literally changed their lives. Some people have come up to me and said, Lisa, I cannot thank you enough. This has been life-changing. Wow. I can see a difference in myself. My family is commenting on how I'm showing up differently. I have tools now when I'm under stress to calm myself. And one in particular is 16 seconds to calm and clarity. And depending if we have time today, we could do a little practice.
Yeah.
And when you see that, like a transformational program that is provided free of charge, paid for by the university, reaching the very people who during COVID had to change within a week or 2 to take their whole in-person class online. And there was a lot of focus on the technology for how you're going to use Zoom and how are you going to do it, but very little focus because of what was happening with COVID on the well-being of the faculty, And then the students show up very nervous, and the well-being of the students is focused on with Mindful U. And although professors can go to Mindful U, I think there is a myth that it's only for the students.
Yeah.
And so the Mindful Professor program helps to overcome this thought, and then also to create a safe space for faculty to come together, to share honestly about what it's like to be a faculty member and the challenges of being in the classroom and working with students that might be highly stressed. And so we create this nice, safe environment to explore and to practice and to grow. So that's what they can expect. Life-changing, and they make really good connections with other faculty.
Yeah, so it sounds like, they're learning skills and things that are easily applicable in their classes and their own personal lives. But then they're also getting that community connection with other faculty and learning from each other. And then of course as well, just feeling overall calmer, better able to be present in their lives and face their issues.
And it's a gift that they can give to others with the practices that they have learned. We create a Mindful Professor Toolkit, and through the box folder, every session is recorded. Every resource that I mention is posted, so all the practices are posted. The PowerPoint presentation is posted. And then within the PowerPoint, there's a section of resources, some video links and links to research articles and books, just things to help a person continue to advance their learning, but also to access this and repurpose it for their use in the classroom if they wish. But there is another benefit. They get a certificate, right, of completion.
Of course,
practice cards. So they're little laminated cards. Let's see if I have them right. No, I took it out. So a little practice card.
Yeah.
A sticker, so they can put their Mindful Professor sticker on their water bottle, on their door, on their laptop. But the best thing they get out of it is that they get to be a member of the Mindful Professor alumni, and we're creating this vibrant community. We have continuing education opportunities, also complimentary, as well as coffee hours, so that alums can meet new graduates. And we're doing a few other things in 2026 to bring together opportunities for drop-in meditation classes. And we're going to do Rebecca and Lisa's picks of books and articles that we read that we think are useful, and some other things to keep enlivening this group.
Wow.
So, how'd you like my commercial?
I'm sold. I'm ready. That's amazing, though. There's all this free swag to keep you going.
Yes.
The free stickers and the certificate. But yeah, I love how it's growing so much, with the drop-in meditation classes, and there's constant new ideas and creativity with the whole thing.
Yeah, Rebecca and I have honestly no lack of ideas, but it's a two-woman show with your help and the other student supports the program. So it's a heavy lift, but it's not heavy because we have such joy in our hearts for the impact it's having.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about leading this program?
The thing that is the most rewarding for me is opening up people's perspectives that things could be different and better. So it is like unleashing your inner potential by having someone come in and say, you're the leader in the classroom, and how you show up makes a difference. And you see people like, I never thought of myself as the leader in the classroom. I thought of myself as the faculty, and the leader is the department chair. Yeah. The leader is the president. The leader is somebody other than me, like looking over their shoulder for the leader. And I'm like, you carry the leadership mantle when you open that door. And every interface that you have either is going to create and deepen trust through your presence, or to be a dial in and they won't care any more than you care. And so having that thought out there, and then having the knowing that you see in people's faces after we do the arriving, the joy that starts to creep across their face, a little smile, and their shoulders come down, and you can see them relishing this 5-minute arrival practice that we do where they ground and center. And then people will come up to me and tell me the impact it's having. And this was our biggest cohort. We had 52 people sign up, but there's usually significant fallout. We had 32 people start and 20 something already graduate, and we have a few others to finish up the program. That's rewarding that the program's word of mouth, because we don't have an advertising budget, right? We have some things that get posted on the website and a newsletter. Otherwise, they learned about the program by somebody next to them saying, I just did this thing. It's had an amazing impact on me, and I think you would benefit. So we have ambassadors out there doing great work, excited to share. Mm-hmm. And that, then ultimately the short answer was, it's rewarding for me to make a difference in people's lives, a positive difference in people's lives.
Yeah, it sounds so empowering, not only for your students or the other faculty members, but for you as well to have that role in their lives.
Well, if you imagine, Rebecca's big goal with Mindful U is to have a campus where people, live, learn, and grow in an environment that brings out their best. And with how crazy and nutty the world can seem, this is something that we can give as a wonderful set of tools, insight, and a gift of living that they can take, any student can take with them when they graduate. Any faculty member can take it into their lives. And it's to me, it's as important as breathing every day. We breathe, we don't think about it because it's an automatic response. But to know that we have a mindfulness toolkit with us every minute we are drawing a breath, if only we knew it. Mm-hmm. And so it's like helping people understand and become aware of a tool that they carry with them every minute. That's a big difference you can make.
Yeah, it's so important, I think. And yeah, I think what's coming up for me as well is just thinking about how it's simple the practice is in terms of just like focusing on your breath and, using that as an anchor for more mindfulness practices. Yet how many people don't know about that or not?
Yeah, or they might, there's plenty of things where we say, you don't know it if you don't practice it, mm-hmm. right? But you might have been exposed to, I know that. And you say, all right, well, then let's drop into a breath and just put your hand on your belly and see where your breath originates. Is it coming up through your shoulders, which is the shallowest breath? And when we breathe up through our shoulders, besides it being shallow, so not as nourishing as it could be, it also sends a message to our parasympathetic nervous system to be on alert. Mm-hmm. And so if we want to bring that down, we breathe through our belly, a deep breath, and really let your belly be soft instead of tight. It tells our body we can relax, that we're safe. And so how could you learn best? When you're sending an alarm to your body to be on alert, or if you were relaxed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so just even that little nugget is like, really? I have something I could do for myself to be more successful, say at school, or to not carry so much anxiety and dread. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very life-changing realization, I think.
Yeah. I can share with you an anecdote from one of our professors, retired recently. He taught nurses. And so in this course that he taught, there were 2 big exams that they had to pass to continue to stay in the nursing curriculum in the nursing degree program. So incredibly high stakes. So after he was exposed to this, and he's been a long-time meditator, but hadn't really been exposed to that I could bring this into the classroom. This was his own practice. So we went through what he could do. And he came back the next week and reported this. He invited people to do a breath practice. He said, this is helpful for me when I'm nervous. I imagine you may be nervous. This is a really important test. I care about your success, and I care about you as people in my class. And you're invited to do it. If you don't want to do it, because you always have to do an opt-out. You can't force people to do this. And he said, I just invite you to close your eyes, soften your gaze. And he led him through an arriving and grounding practice. I think it was 3 minutes. Then they took their test. So after the class, a huge number of students, but not everyone, came up and said, I hope that was so great. It really helped me kind of take my nervous energy down so I could focus, which I didn't even mention the opportunity of mindfulness for being focused and having more of a management of your brain instead of it in charge of you, the monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then the student said, are you going to do it next week when we have the second test? Would you please do it?
Mm-hmm.
And then after the second time he did it, different students and some of the same came up and said, I really appreciated you taking the time. And there's an old adage, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. So that was caring, experiential but personified. I can tell you all day long I care, but my actions tell you for sure, show you.
Yeah. And, it really speaks to that, the importance of really feeling it, that experiential learning, instead of just being told that, oh, you should breathe before your exam or be relaxed, but then really experiencing that really makes that difference.
It does. And that's why the Mindful Leader and the other Mindful You programming is about getting people either to move, to breathe, to think and move and breathe, so that they get the theory or philosophy or the research and pair it with experiencing it in your body. And it's interesting. We can go and live our days where our mind and our body aren't really connected psychically. We're not aware of what's happening with our body. And then our body is sending us little messages. And then all of a sudden you're very sick because you didn't pay attention that maybe you needed to eat differently, drink, or sleep more, but you ignore all that. Particularly for a student and a faculty, they can push themselves very hard.
Yeah.
But the little signs were there, like, oh, I'm thirsty. I could take a drink or have water with me, just simple things. But, Rishika, I could go on all day. So let me imagine you have other questions for me.
Yeah. So I was wondering, what do you, if any, what do you think your students, like the faculty members, struggle with when it comes to incorporating mindfulness?
This is the biggest struggle. There's two. The first struggle for themselves is that they don't think they have the time.
Okay.
So in the course, we talk about how you can have time that you already have. So as an example, I have this mug, and in the morning, I like a cup of hot chocolate. I'm not a coffee lover, but almost everybody has a beverage of choice for the morning. Might be hot tea, coffee, something cold, hot. And I said, what if you didn't pick up your phone? You had it somewhere where you could see it if it caused too much anxiety to have your phone out of sight. And you poured yourself a cup of coffee or made your tea, and you just thought about the process of making your tea or coffee. You sat there for a moment and had some gratitude for your body to be able to make the tea and coffee or the appliances, to even have the money to have the tea or coffee you want to enjoy. Like if you went to Starbucks and you went through the drive-through and mobile order, got your cup of coffee, but you sat in your car or you walked and just focused on experiencing your coffee for the first time again. Like bring it to your mouth. You feel the heat on the mug. You feel the steam rising up if it's a hot beverage. The anticipation of how great it's going to taste, how it might make you more alert or whatever the thing is, the flavor, and just sit with it. Or just think about that for 1 minute. So you still are going to enjoy your coffee, but instead of filling your mind with everything you have to do and getting like the hamster on the wheel, you savored.
Yeah. Good.
Or mindful eating. You're going to eat lunch anyway. I used to always eat lunch in front of my laptop. So I was always multitasking. And the trouble is that by the time I got done eating, sometimes I felt like I hadn't eaten anything. I didn't enjoy it. And my body is amped up. So now I don't do that. I spend 10 or 15 minutes just taking time to eat and savoring and feeling gratitude for it. Now, maybe you don't take 15 minutes. Maybe it's 5 minutes, but take 5 minutes and eat without distraction. Just breathe. Close your eyes if you need to. So part of this problem is feeling like you don't have time. Yeah. And then the second, from a school perspective or implementing it in a student meeting or in a classroom, is that professors have their jobs because they are deep experts. That's the reason they're at the U of R. That's part of the reason they're teaching, to continue to research and contribute to the body of knowledge for their area of specialty. So they learn this in 9 weeks. They don't feel like experts, and then they're hesitant to put it in place. And I urge them, say, do a tiny experiment. Arrive. Here's the written out instructions. Just breathe. The 16 seconds to calm and clarity is basically this, Rishika. Take a breath in for 4.
Mm-hmm.
Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. So if we were to actually count it out, it'd be a little slower, but 16 seconds. And I urge them to say, you can just start a class with a moment of silence. You can say, we're going to be quiet for a minute, and we're just going to transition from what we've been thinking about and doing to our focus here. And I encourage you all to be fully present. So giving them the language and the tools to overcome this imposter syndrome. And I tell them, I said, just experiment. And then we have people each class talk about the little experiments or vulnerability and what they found each time they do it, no matter how nervous, no matter how imperfect they think it was, students come up to them and thank them.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's just a little baby step. It's small. Like, let's all take a big breath in and let it out. Or you can do the breath in and do side out, right? Simple breath work, simple practices. And that's the approach of, I think, the Mindful You and the Mindful Professor, is to make it really accessible, to overcome this hesitancy. And, we breathe all the time. We could make it work for us differently without adding a new job to our day or new task.
Yeah, it's just a mindset shift, or it's literally just being more mindful
exactly.
about,
it's like mind.
yeah.
It's funny when you talk about a mindset shift. Like, when I tell people, I said, does it sometimes feel like there's a hamster up there running? Slow down, run. Everybody, people are shaking their head. I go, well, that's called the monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to be imprisoned by the monkey mind. We can, you don't like the channel on a television, or you're listening to music, you can change the channel, and the breath can give you a channel reset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, each day I wake up, I have 2 things, like mantras I say to myself, what I want to accomplish today. And you'll be surprised, although I have a huge to-do list, like all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And what I focus on is, I want to feel happy and I want to do good. That's it. And if I find myself having a thought that isn't supporting wanting to feel happy or doing good, which my mind will present risks or danger that may or may not really exist, or I start to feel my mood changing and I'm starting to feel like less happy, I say, okay, what's going on in my mind and my body? Kind of check in. And I figure out, well, what are happy thoughts? I think about my grandkids. I think about friends, family.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I do something good for me or good for somebody else? And then I get kind of back on track.
Yeah.
So, the monkey mind doesn't have to live up there every minute.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier about just experiment with it, just be open. Because I think sometimes I've seen also with students that I've worked with that they're already coming in with an expectation, or they need to see an outcome immediately for it to feel worth it. And it's just like, just be open. There's nothing to lose here.
Yeah. Well, I equate practicing mindfulness as a practice. If we think about exercise as a practice, or learning any physical skill, right? You don't learn it your first time. Like, your muscles don't have any memory if the first time you're going to play pickleball, racquetball, or do yoga moves. And when you're first trying to do any yoga, right, your body is screaming, saying, I don't mean to bend like that. I can't touch my toes. I can't put my arms over my head. I can't. And then you do it a few times, and as you warm up, you're like, oh my goodness, my range of motion is changing. Mm-hmm. But if you only do it once, it doesn't last for your lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I try to equate mindfulness as, particularly if it's a meditative practice, is a gymnastics for your mind, and like doing one repetition, because each time we know we're off focus and we come back to awareness of focus, that's one rep.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being mad at ourselves, like, oh my gosh, my mind wandered. It's what it does. It's always scanning the environment, bringing us interesting things, trying to keep us safe. But if you want to focus, then do more repetitions of bringing your mind back to the object of interest. Could be your breath, right? Your anchor, or the focus in front of you. And instead of chiding yourself, like if it was a puppy or a little kid learning to walk, we wouldn't say, oh my gosh, scream at the kid. We'd say, oh, look at you trying, try again. So we can learn to be kind while we're practicing and learn to be a little more curious. Like if I did this again, and that's why the journal is a really great tool to add to any new practice, is to write down, how did you feel when you got here? Write it down before they do a practice. Then they do the practice. What do you think about the practice? How do you feel now in your mind and your body? And if they really give the practice a try, eventually they're going to see a pattern of feeling slightly different and hopefully slightly better.
Yeah.
And it's incremental. Like if I go and lift a whole bunch of weights 8 hours in one day, I am not going to be superhuman strength the next day. I probably can't move, instead of half an hour each of those days over 7 days, right?
Yeah. Being patient with ourselves and the process and continuing to show up anyways, even when it doesn't feel like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you imagine, as a student or as an employee, if you didn't show up to class or your job when you didn't feel like it, you will not get a degree and you will not keep your job.
Yeah, exactly.
But we give up on things that are going to make us happier and healthier, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah. So I'm wondering, what does your mindfulness practice look like? How do you feel like your days have changed now that you're incorporating?
Well, I find myself, I don't do like a traditional mindfulness where I sit for half an hour, but instead in the morning, I take my time and experience the getting ready in the morning. So part of my mindfulness is from the moment I wake. When I first wake up, I don't jump right out of bed. I lay there and I check in. So a mini body scan and if for the listeners, a body scan is really just taking time, like we did with Rishika in the beginning, of paying attention to her neck. I start at my crown, wiggle in the bed a little bit and say, like, do I feel any tightness? What's going on? What's going on in my mind? And I just start with that. Then I get up and then I take my time trying to be with my experience of, if I'm taking a shower or if I'm putting my hair up to go work out. And I take time, like today I did yoga before this. I was so grateful to be connected with my yogis in my community. I love the teacher, whose name also happens to be Lisa. She's amazing. And just checking in socially and really being present, listening to the different friends tell me about their lives, sharing information. And it was a perfect way to start. And so when I came to this time together with you, I felt like I had really given myself the best platform for my mind and body to be ready. During the rest of the day, between taking time to savor, I may find myself feeling a little tight in my mind or my body or both. And if the tightness is anxiety creeping in, like, oh my gosh, like right now, I had to move things off my desk. I've been cleaning out my office and long overdue. And it is a train wreck behind my shoulders, a complete train wreck. Like you have to walk around the floor. There's different piles. And I came in and I said, I am grateful that I'm going to have some time after talking to Rishika to continue my process, but I didn't beat myself up for it not being done, right? So the other part of my practice is loving kindness to me. So if I start to feel like I'm not enough, I'm never going to be enough, I sit there and remind myself of all the abundant blessings I have and that I find a way, even if it's messy, to get it done. It might not look like a linear path to anybody because it's not. And I find that the mantra, slow start to the morning, and trust me, I wake up like this. So it's not like I'm not awake. I am completely awake. It's just that I don't need to be revving every minute. And I pay attention to my mind and body. And so that is my secret, to practicing mindfulness each day. And then sometimes I sit. I have all the equipment to have a good sit in my office or different parts of the house or outside. And I might take 15 minutes and go to 30 and just sit and breathe and think. Just take it all in, like listen to nature. Or I have on Pandora is Inner Lotus music channel that I love that streams certain frequencies that help to evoke, it's a brainwave frequencies that help to evoke calm or happiness. It depends on which, I should say show, but music set I'm listening to. And if I'm having trouble, I get my essential oils out, load up my wrist, have a good deep smell again and again throughout the day and say, okay, you got this. And breathe. Because when I know for me that if I notice I'm holding my breath, then there must be something creeping in my mind that I'm not as aware of that's affecting my body and my breathing. So that's a really big clue in the practice during the day. Like, oh, you just held your breath and you're not in like a breath holding contest with my granddaughter or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I like how it's just a part of your day. It's, just how you're approaching the everyday. And it's not like you're happy like 24/7. It's like there are times when you do feel down or when things don't make sense, but then you have the practice or the tools to bring yourself back. And
then also like with hardship, certainly I have not had a charmed life. I've had suffering, physical suffering. I've had mental suffering by the things that have happened that I felt, my identity injured or just thought that was so mean, and heartbreak, things that if that's not this for this purpose of this show, like, well, how do you carry on with some of the things that have happened? And it's like, your life force carries you forward. And I realized that I can sit with really distressing emotions and thoughts and even pain if I just remember that I can make it all worse, like the pain amplifier, the distress amplifier, by how I think about it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like one of those universal truths that I didn't know. Like, I can make it worse.
Yeah.
And that suffering is a universal experience. Nobody escapes suffering and pain. Nobody. And when you realize that, you can say, well, I can fight it. And this is the odd thing about mindfulness that took me a long time to get my head wrapped around, inviting it in.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, like the other day, I hit my foot. Well, a few weeks ago, I hit my foot really hard, and I had to walk, from the car into class to teach. And I told everybody, I said, today, if you see me wince when I'm walking, teaching, I really hit my toe so hard, and it was so sensitive, but I had to put the shoe on, right? I wasn't going to walk around barefoot. And I just said, and I'm trying to help it teach me, because it occurred because I wasn't paying attention to where my body was in relationship to the chair I hit, the wood corner. And I said, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
And so I was grateful it wasn't worse, that the call from the universe to pay attention was painful, but I didn't break my toe. I could still drive and walk, although it reminded me all day long what I had done. And then it wasn't as painful. It hurt, but not like I could have made it hurt by how I thought about it.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction with the pain from the external circumstance or outcome that you can't really control, and then the suffering that happens because of that from your mind. And that part of the suffering is something we can control and something we can have power over, which is so important.
So, so I, everybody has their days. And the funny thing is, during the day, we also have energy flows, right? Like, I'm a morning person. I'm an all day person as long as I can keep eating and drinking and moving.
Yeah.
Which can be very annoying to people who are not a morning person, like my husband. But, we work it out. But it's interesting that about 2:30, 3 o'clock is the sleepiest time of the day for me.
Yeah.
And I know it because I pay attention to the rhythms. And now I know that that's not the best time to have a meeting. It's not the best time to have a conversation where I need to be sharp. It's the best time for me to be drinking and moving my body.
Yeah.
So and that's where that slow time of breathing and getting embodied between our mind and our body, and the body scan I mentioned gives us a chance to be more aware of what we need. and to be kinder to our bodies and minds. We demand so much of our mind and body, just living, just being a student or being a faculty member, leading. But you can't keep drawing from the bank, and then you get into a deficit and you wonder why your body is, or your mind can't focus, and you're unhappy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I try to put the deposits in while I'm doing the taking out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, what is your advice for someone trying to build a mindfulness practice?
Well, the best advice I have is to start slow and try to pair it with something you're going to do anyway. So one easy example was the savoring of your drink in the morning. Another can be when you're brushing your teeth. Everybody brushes their teeth, we hope. So when you're brushing it, you could just pretend that you're experiencing brushing for the first time and just notice the taste of if it's peppermint or cinnamon or whatever flavor you have. Notice how it bubbles up and it's tingling your gums, and how the toothbrush feels on your teeth. And if you brush your tongue, just notice that. And depending on how long you brush your teeth, 30 seconds, a minute, you have a moment to just be in that moment. And then during the day, just saying, oh, where am I breathing? Am I breathing up through my shoulders or my belly? Let's see if I can direct my belly, breathing to my belly. The other thing that is really helpful when you're brand new is to either go maybe to the Calm app or Insight Timer. Both are free. Of course, they have a paid version. And take a look and listen to some short guided meditations or breathing. And 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can even listen to it in the car, but please keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Or if you're riding a bike, people listen to podcasts. You could start to consume this material to become more aware. But the best thing you can do if you're a U of R student and faculty is to tune into Mindful U. There's opportunities every single day.
Yeah.
And things are recorded, and there's opportunities to find somebody. There's 8 mindfulness teachers, and there's quite a few others across the campus. Is to just start by, I always usually tell people, put your hand on your belly, close your eyes, and take a few breaths nice and slow. Try to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, and just put a timer on your phone for 1 minute. See how that feels. And if your mind keeps racing, just say, all right, it'll come back. Welcome back. I'll start again. Breathe. And if it races again, come back. And you do it for a minute, and you might say, wow, that felt pretty good. Maybe I can do it for another minute.
Yeah.
Just very, very small. But the savoring of the food and drink is probably the easiest thing, plus a shower or brushing your teeth, because you do it every day. You're going to eat, and you're going to get ready for your day or the close down at night.
Yeah.
The other nobody wants to hear is try to spend less time on a device and more time with human beings. Because there is some very compelling and concerning research about what happens when we spend a lot of time on a device.
Yeah.
It induces a mild form of depression.
Yeah.
And part of that is because if you're on any social media, you're comparing your life to theirs, the curated perfect life that they don't have. And then you also could be making comparisons about how somebody is more beautiful or more successful. And then the onslaught of news could make you pretty paralyzed that there's no good news to find, and the world's going to heck in a handbasket, and woe is me. And when you're out in nature or with a friend, you can get rejuvenated and share that beautiful shared energy and get like, oh, I can do this thing called life.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I like how, you said start small, start with things you're already doing. You don't really need to add on. You can start with things you're doing. And then, of course, there are a multitude of resources on campus, on our phones, if that's how we want to spend our time, at least spend it wisely.
Yeah, there are the one inner lotus music with the binaural frequency. I just have that. I would have had it on today, but I thought I didn't know how loud it would show up for our time together. I have it on anytime I'm in my office with my computer, with my laptop. I just have that music inducing peace and harmony or curiosity, whatever the sound frequency could invoke, it is amazing how calm I am, how productive I am, but also how happy I feel. And I know that that music is playing in the background is affecting at an unconscious level the brain waves. And it's pretty, to me, very, very powerful. I also have a diffuser going with some nice scents to keep the air moist for breathing more easily, but also to have a scent that I like, that I feel like, oh, it's summertime in Rochester when it's bleak and gray and there's no flowers to find, the snow's not here yet, creating winter wonderland. And that in between bleak day, I put, sometimes it's jasmine or rose because I like floral scents, but yeah, put it on your Christmas lists, everybody.
Yeah, I can definitely link that music playlist you were talking about in the bio for listeners to click on and use.
Yes. Well, we would love if you linked, of course, Mindful You and the Mindful Professor, in case a professor or a student that knows a professor tunes in and says, my professor really needs this.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and you kind of touched on this already, but are there any specific books that you recommend to listeners?
Yes, I have a little stack here. The first book is not what you would expect. It's a gratitude journal.
Okay.
It could be anything, but to begin a 3 blessings or gratitude practice, this says a gratitude journal for an inspired life. This was actually a gift, but inside it just says, today I'm grateful for, I'm looking forward to, and what was the favorite part of the day. And if we key on that favorite part of the day, the 3 blessings, my husband and I do this at night before we fall asleep. We say, what are the 3 things, our 3 blessings? And they're not monumental things. Sometimes the blessing is, I have a little sore knee. And I'll say, it was sore, but I put my arnica oil on and, I was able to do everything I wanted to do. So I'm grateful that between my self-care and my body's healing, I could do what I wanted. But then sometimes I say, I'm just grateful for you, honey, or I'm just grateful that we had this delicious dinner, or the sun peeked out, like tiny little moments of life.
Yeah.
And, he's a funny guy. So he'll say, I'm grateful for not being on fire right now, or at least I'm not on fire. And then I'll say, come on, be serious. And so when we've done this, despite what else was happening, we become more thankful for, we have our challenges, but that is a really great book, right? To have a journal, write things down in it, because some days you need to remind yourself that there are good things happening, that you have experienced good things. And it's a way of savoring so that you can put that in your mind and rewire your brain for more savoring and happiness. This book, Wherever You Go, There You Are. It is written by John Kabat-Zinn. He's considered the modern father of mindfulness. And in this book, the spoiler alert, but the theme of this book is wherever we go, there we are. So if we think we'll be happier if I change my hair, I buy this outfit, I go to this concert, I get this car, I pass this course, they are fleeting moments of happiness, and they certainly are achievements or things that bring us joy. But if in our mind we are not already joyful, they are going to not last. And we're going to bring ourselves to that new environment, that new job, that new class, that new group of people, the new club. So how could you work on creating where you want to be up here instead of searching outside yourself for it? The next book, it's a little workbook. It's called Becoming Aware. It is by Dr. Siegel. And I can send these to you after.
Yeah, I will definitely link these in the bio. Yeah.
It's a 21-day mindfulness program for reducing anxiety and cultivating calm. So there's a little bit of things to read to like increase your understanding. And then there's pages to write down your reflections and start doing some practices that over 21 days you build a toolkit for yourself. And then the Mindful 20-something. So this is a book, Life Skills to Handle Stress and Everything Else. It is written for, I would say, undergrad students. It is research-based. It's based on the popular, you're probably familiar with this Core Room Mindfulness program. And it is incredibly helpful to have a resource that says, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
People my age feel like this, and I can feel different in ways that are helpful for me to focus, to do well academically, but also to be well, mind and body.
Mhm. Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing those resources.
You're
And
welcome.
yeah, I'll definitely link those in. Um, yeah, and I think my final question today is, what impact do you hope for your mindfulness work at the U of R?
Well, here's the big dream. I would love, because this is aligned to the well-being of students and faculty and staff and administrators as part of the strategic plan. So in the strategic plan by the President Mendelsohn, there's a pillar that is focused on faculty and students about well-being. It would be incredible if the Mindful You and the Mindful Professor program became a way of life so that every student that came to school had an opportunity to be exposed to it during orientation with multiple practice opportunities, different modalities, because people learn in different ways. They have ambassadors from the school, including the president, start her address to the students at any meeting she had with her, that she would start with a mindfulness practice, that every class would start with a mindfulness practice that people could opt out of, that we would talk about it. It would be infused in the learning, but also infused as a differentiating component of being a member of the University of Rochester community. So the faculty, the administration, staff, students, vendors, alums, they could become infused with the knowledge of self-care and how mindfulness can be a tool in a big toolbox of things that we do, that it becomes this compelling value proposition of why you would pick the U of R, because you are going to get this toolkit of life skills because we care about you as a person and we want to support your academic flourishing and well-being. So I put it out in the universe, and I would love for there to be a center of mindfulness on the campus that is funded through alum donations and anyone else, so that there's a dedicated resource beyond Rebecca and I and 2 students.
Wow.
So that this would become a movement that is integral to the success of the U of R. So that's what I would like. Do you think you can help with that? Help us with that?
It's a small ask. Wow, that's amazing. I love that vision. And I do think, yeah, if it was integrated in our campus life, it would be so much more easily accessible, supported by the community. Yeah.
Because right now it's all optional, which is great, but unless you seek it out, you're not exposed to it. So it makes it harder for everyone to at least be exposed to it. And so with the Mindful Professor, as we get to a bigger critical mass, I keep sharing this vision. And then at some point, being able to go to the top leadership and describe the impact it's having through the voices of the professors, through the voices of the administrators, and not through just my voice and Rebecca's voice. There is exciting things happening on the URMC campus where they have a chief wellness officer. They have their first cohort of well-being fellows that are graduating at the end of this year, who've gone through a year-long program focused on well-being where mindfulness is a piece of it. So even if it becomes a piece of well-being, right, because it is, that what they're doing on the URMC campus is very exciting, because hopefully their torches will light torches in other schools to begin to create this model that gives us a chance for this work to kind of sift in, to become a way of learning and living. That would be wonderful. And I hope that I can be a catalyst for this big vision, because it takes lots of people to buy in, and the research is there, which I know is really important, but the actual experiences of people are just amazing. So
it sounds like
a girl can hope.
It sounds like it's a culture, that we need to build that culture.
It is. And this is, when we started our conversation today, I told you my background was in HR. And so part of what I loved about my career. And I have been the chief human resources officer or the chief people officer. So the top job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that I had the top job that was the thing I was most proud of. It was because I had so much opportunity to influence what we did for orientation, how we recruited people, how we trained people, how we taught leaders, our reinforcing systems about rewards and promotions and recognition all had to do with how are you showing up?
Mm-hmm.
And then the opportunity to lead a practice before we had a meeting and to get people thinking about their impact on other people to create. And it was a slow process, right? Because when you talk about mindfulness, people think, are you asking me to change my religion? Are you a Buddhist? No, I am not a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Are you expect me to shave my hair, put on a goldenrod robe, and go home and cross my legs in ways I can't? No. No, I'm going to invite you to experience something and to open up your mind to a different way of showing up and see if that is something you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So, and I have had a lot of success getting people kind of like the Pied Piper.
Mm-hmm.
Like my nickname is the ocean. It goes like this. It says, come in, the water's fine. A little deeper, the water's fine. A little deeper, the water's fine. And then they're in water, up to their necks. They're swimming. And they're like, how did I get out here? Because I believed in you and you believed in you. And we're here making a change together because we believe in it. We know it will make a positive difference in people's lives. And so let's be a part of this, because when we do that, there's 3 words: ignite, engage, transform. When we ignite people to the possibility and we engage them heart, mind, body, and soul in a non religious way, but like, you're all in.
Yeah.
And then we transform the organization while we transform. So it is a mutually beneficial way of getting on board, ignite, engage, transform. And I actually have a sign that says that in my office. So that's what I try to do in this work.
That's amazing. It's beautiful, beautiful 3 words to remind yourself and to leave us with today.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time out to be here. And it was so great filming this with you. And I'm sure all our listeners are going to appreciate this, the knowledge that you've shared today with us.
I hope it inspires them to get curious, although often followers are early adopters, but hopefully they will say, hey, you got to listen to this podcast. This one's going to make a difference for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I am so grateful for the invitation. And I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to it. And I just, so happy.
Yay. Okay.
Take care. Yeah.
Bye.